I'm going to be talking about Iago's soliloquy in Othello, Act 2, Scene 3. In terms of context, this passage comes immediately after Othello sacks Cassio, after having killed a person due to drunken behaviour, and precedes Cassio's attempts at making up with Othello. I feel that this scene, in Act 2, Scene 3, this really foreshadows Act 5, Scene 1, when Cassio is stabbed and Rodrigo is killed, as it reflects very similar situations. I'm going to be moving on to language. There is a particular quote here which I'd really like to focus on, which is the very first line. "And what's he then that says I play the villain, when this advice is free I give, and honest?" I think this line is really interesting, because not only is it a rhetorical question, but he's also directly addressing the audience, this being Iago. This is exhibited through Iago's classic hypocrisy, as he's saying that the advice that he is giving is accurate, therefore he's not a bad person for doing so. This is also reflected when he says the line, "When devils will the blacker sins put on, they do suggest at first with heavenly shows, as I do now." He's implying that nothing is wrong with what he's doing, and that telling Cassio what's best for him is totally normal. In fact, what Iago is doing here is pretty genius, as in fact he can't be blamed for doing anything, thus suggesting that he can't have anything against him if somebody were to brush up on his plan and realise what exactly he was doing. To move further on, I'll be exploring the notion of tone and mood, and I feel like this is quite a touchy, very detailed part of the soliloquy, as there's not only a sense of the soliloquy being quite fraudulent, but also quite shameless. So in terms of shamelessness, this can be seen when Iago says, "So will I turn her virtue into pitch, and out of her own goodness make the net that shall enmesh them all." This is clearly demonstrating how Iago thinks that his plan is pretty excellent. And we can tell that he exalts in his own depravity, showing that he has absolutely no guilt for what he's doing, because he believes that he is in fact correct. This really connects with the sense of fraudulency and hypocrisy, because Iago can come across as even more hypocritical, as at the end when he talks about how his plan is excellent, it completely conflicts with what he said earlier about how what he was doing was completely fine. This is even more so when implying to the audience that he has nothing wrong, that he's done absolutely nothing wrong. To proceed further, I'll be talking about form and structure. In particular, I'll be talking about iambic pentameter. Iambic pentameter is a classic in terms of Shakespeare, and it really gives a sense of unfluctuating quality to the soliloquy. What I find interesting is that Shakespeare tends to use iambic pentameter in most of his plays which have themes of love and death. And what makes this particularly interesting is that I think the fact Shakespeare does this is because it reflects the security and the fragility of both love and death at the same time. And I find this contrast between security and fragility is really what makes Shakespeare quite remarkable in terms of his literature. And this is where I'll be concluding. And so I hope you've enjoyed my general analysis of Iago's soliloquy in Act 2, Scene 3. And I hope you've learnt something from it too. Anyway, bye!